I'm Scott Clark.
I'm Dave Dale.
I'm an optimist. There's always an upside.
I'm a skeptic and borderline cynical.
I love mornings. Great time for a jog.
I'm a nighthawk and prefer to sleep in.
Together, we cover a lot of ground.
Welcome to the Echo Essentials podcast.
And please subscribe to our free digital newsletter at NorthBayEcho.ca.
Well, welcome to the Echo Essentials podcast. Scott and I, we've had quite the journey to get here. What do you think?
Yeah, it's, we've spent a lot of time and we've invested a lot of time into put this together. And this is our first podcast together. And so I'm excited. And this is our kickoff one. So don't screw it up.
Well, we've already got a little bit of a curveball from the way we organized it because we've interviewed Shawn Flindall from the North Bay Snowmobile Club. We interviewed him in December. He's talking about all these great trails, and it's the worst winter yet.
I so feel for, like, people say to me, oh, you don't have it's not a bad winter up there. And it's a horrible winter. Like, that's white gold to us. It's got to be cold for the ice fishing, and it's got to be, cold with lots of snow so you can get all those trails open and rolling, because it's millions and millions of dollars. So I can't even imagine right now. So we're the end of January, we're recording this, and I wonder if, like, all those outfitters had to return any fees or.
Yeah, definitely. They had all kinds of cancellations. They lost most of January. They just were getting their huts out. And, some of them have dozens and dozens and dozens of huts that they drag out there when the ice is ready. And now it's dangerous out there.
Yeah.
So I know some hut guys have taken some of their huts off.
Oh, they've taken them off. Yeah.
Well, private guys that don't want to deal with the slush, they took them off and they decided to just toboggan it this year. So, they haul their out there just for the day and they're back.
We'll hear from Shawn. He's going to tell us a few stories.
Well, and I checked the long range weather forecast. Over the next 2 weeks, up until Valentine's Day, we're going to have mostly sub-zero temperatures and a couple double digits, minus 10s and 12s, but not a lot of snow. So good for the fishermen, not maybe for snowmobile.
Well, that's interesting. Like, even that, we usually get, I would say, 2 to 3 weeks of minus 30 or sub minus 30. Like, it just happens, and then usually around this time of the year, we will have a bit of a thaw, right? Mm-hmm. There's some sort of January thaw that happens, but it's just been like right around zero. It's like, thank goodness it hasn't rained, because that would absolutely wipe everything out if they did that.
Yeah, it would be bad. Well, good thing they can make.
But don't pull me down your pessimist ways. Like, I can't believe I get sucked into you and your pessimist ways. I should be bestowing the great that we're out there fishing. It's happening. These people, there are some trails still open. You can get a little north of here, still get some snow. But I get sucked into Dave Dale's pessimism.
It's not pessimism. It's reality. I'm reality-based.
Reality-based.
Some people call it skeptical. Some people call it cynical. But it's just realism.
Okay. I'm going to try in this podcast not to get sucked down into that vortex of your negativity.
Well, you got to bring that other half, right?
Right.
We're different. You're bright. You think everything's cool. And
I feel like you're hitting on me in some strange way, but I love it. It feels fantastic, actually.
I know you would actually take that, because I'm skeptical and you're almost gullible sometimes.
Gullible? No, I'm trust. I put my trust out there, and so you can take me down a path because I trust. And so what you decide to do with my trust is up to you, not up to me.
Oh,
so call me gullible. I'm just very trusting.
There you go.
Jerk. What was your favorite moment of last night? Anything exciting happen? Like, do you must get a thrill of watching city council meetings sometimes?
I crack up a bit because I find humor in a lot of it. And unfortunately, we had a counselor decide he wanted to be an open mic comedian last night.
Oh, no.
Yeah, Chris Main tried to.
This is not going to go well, is it?
Well, I don't know where it's going to go. Like, I'm not real big on canceling people for saying inappropriate things.
What did he do?
He told a joke. I was after the Nick's Place presentation.
Okay.
And that group was trying to do an exchange with students, do some winter overnight camping with a community in northern Quebec, a native community.
Nice.
And I think things were falling apart for them. They couldn't get insurance. They were looking for some help from the city and trying to figure that out. But in the end, before Chris made his comments, he quoted the name of the community, which was a native name. Mm-hmm. And he said that it was, let's play it.
So we have the clip?
Yeah, we have the clip.
You have to put headphones on.
Wow. Okay, let me put headphones on. I got to hear this. Let's go, Benny. This is like really professional. We got the clip.
Councillor Main.
Thank you, Your Worship, and thank you, Carrie, for your presentation. Did you know that Quechua, hopefully I'm close on that, is an ancient Algonquin Cree word that means middle of nowhere? So I hope that does work out for you. This does look like an amazing experience.
Chris. Now, first of all, I have to ask. That's not true, right?
No, that can't be true.
That can't be true.
No, it's not true.
Chris, what are you doing? Like, in this day and age, what's going on?
But that's pretty risque for at a public council meeting.
It is. Yeah. What's he thinking? Yeah. Chris.
I want to invite him out to the Lou Dogs is now having open mics again at the last Sunday of the month. It just got resurrected this past month. And he can come out and tell those type of jokes anytime he wants.
Okay, what if we did this? What if we compile the best bits if they do it? What'd you say? Lou Dogs are doing it once a month?
Yeah.
So every month, so that's only 2 council meetings? There's only, they're every 2 weeks, right?
Yeah, they're every 2 weeks.
So if you could compile, have the bit is the best jokes from council, the best stand-up from council, and then you play the clips for the crowd. But it'd be interesting how you set them up and how you...
Yeah.
And then see what happens.
Well, there's another thing that I would probably clip and do something with. It was a meeting past. Sarah Inch was feeling pretty good about beating back the George Burton investigation about what was going on in the integrity commissioner thing. So She was feeling pretty bullish. So she got a chance to have a speech about how we should all get along and stop these inquiries. I would love to have a clip of a close-up of
Sarah?
The deputy mayor, Horsfield, Maggie Horsfield, because she was sitting there, and she would make a great poker player because I'm sure her emotions weren't showing through, but she was just having to endure that because basically she's talking about her, right?
Right.
She didn't, the $36,000 it cost the city because of that integrity commissioner investigation, right? So
tell me what is the next big thing Sarah's going to do that's going to get her in trouble? Is there something coming up where she's drawn a line in the sand in something?
Well, I'm not sure, but I'm going to have her on for an interview with Small Town Times. So maybe that'll be it.
Oh, that'll be yes, that'll be great. I can't wait. Do you know when? A few weeks, or
I'm hoping next week.
Next week? Oh, that'd be great. And you're gonna talk to her about.
I'm going to ask her all kinds of questions and let her answer them.
She's pretty open though, eh? She'll just shoot from the hip. And
she has good intentions, I think. She's been putting up a lot of memes, one-word memes these days, or one-question memes, basically asking, should we continue corporate welfare? Stuff like that.
Ooh,
so she's really hitting the end, pushing the envelope on some issues. Mm-hmm. I like that. That. Maybe she's got to learn a little bit of finesse, but I'm not one to teach finesse either. So.
That is so true. That is so true. You and your finesse.
Subtle. They call me subtle.
Not at all. You're not subtle at all.
Well, speaking of outdoor rinks and wanting colder weather, we may as well let Shawn tell us about the best 3 day trips that he has, if there's some snow.
when the snow arrives, poor snowmobiler.
Yeah. So Let's pray for snow, and then let's listen to where Shawn tells us is a good place to go if we get some.
Absolutely. You can probably drive to some of these places like Camp Conowongo too.
Well, that's the other thing. If there's no snow, go visit the places.
Go visit the place. Go
for a
visit
long
the poor
drive.
people. So if I was to do 3 kind of day trips from North Bay, what are 3 today? What are 3 like great trips that you have to do? Here's what you do. Like number 1 would be what?
Yeah, so the caveat is it depends on the rider, right? Like how fast they want to go and how many miles they want to put on in a day. When we ride in a group, and our groups always consist of some really experienced riders, some less experienced, some guys, some girls. We typically will do a couple 100 kilometers a day locally, right? So a beautiful ride is to go up to Temagami for lunch at, what's that restaurant right on the highway there? The
What,
lodge
Martin River?
there. No, in Temagami.
Oh, yeah, isn't it the Temagami Lodge?
That Temagami Lodge. Yeah, them. Damn.
It's
I hope
right by the water, right?
Yeah. I just can't remember. They're going to hate me for not remembering the name of their lodge. But that's a really great ride, right? Like it's probably 2 hours to get up there. So if you leave at 9 or 10 in the morning, by the time you get to Temagami, fill up with gas and get back to the restaurant, you're there.
You
in
go
time
through
for
Martin,
lunch.
because I've been up to Martin
Yeah.
River. That was I would go to Martin River and back down.
Yeah.
So you would go through Martin River and then keep going?
Keep going straight north. Beautiful
Yeah.
trails like this, right? Just
rolling.
Yeah. The other one, though, is Temang for sure.
Yeah.
Talk about straight rolling. It is. It has always been the best trail in the region for. It's just that gorgeous. We've had some challenges on that trail over the past few years with grooming on the last 15 kilometers. We can talk about that later, but so it's been a little bit choppy in the last few years. We're working on a fix for that currently. That will be probably a $300,000 ticket to fix. But that is a beautiful ride.
So who pays for that? It's a $300,000 ticket. Is that the club that will pay that?
Yeah, so it's a combination of the OFSC, the local club, and the local district. And for big ticket items like that, we also get funding from an OHFC.
Would you need a bridge or something? Or?
Yeah, so again, back in the day, the beauty about snowmobiling was the volunteerism. So if we had a creek or a pond or whatever to cross, a bunch of guys would get together
Bunch
with
of bush
chainsaws.
engineers.
Totally, bush engineers. We'd cut a bunch of trees down. We'd drop some trees across the creek, put some boards on top of it, and call it a bridge.
You even
right?
use pine, right?
Absolutely, whatever. And so we'd replace these bridges ever so often, and but in today's day of codes and rules insurance, we can't do that anymore.
You have to be certified engineered.
If we have to go across a little creek, it has to be a stamped steel bridge. And these, we used to put trees down and boards down. It used to cost us $1,000 to put a bridge across a little creek, right? Now it
Do you have to
costs
get a consultant for the environmental report too, and stuff like
sometimes.
that? Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of costs, eh?
huge costs. All of it. It's conservation authorities are involved. Provinces involved, permits.
Good thing there's about $3 to $5 billion coming in.
Yeah, there needs to be, right? Because so this bridge that I'm talking about on the way to Quebec, we are able to groom to the North River. We can't get a groomer across that North River. It's a big river. And so Quebec does the final 15 clicks to the Ottawa River. But they're not really interested in doing that chunk. They got a lot, and I get it. Like, they've got a lot of trails to groom there, so they get to this last 15 clicks maybe once a week, more like once every 2 weeks. So that last 15 kilometers it's a bumpy
son of a gun. It's really designed for the restaurant, I think, and
access to Quebec.
Right? Yeah,
I mean, it's one of the busiest accesses between the two trail systems.
Oh, wow.
So the snowmobile repair guy at the end of the trail.
Yeah, exactly.
He holds
Exactly.
the groomer right there.
So our effort right now is
some
to get
Anglo
a
bucks.
bridge across this North River, which is in the middle of nowhere. It's a big river. It's going to be a 100-foot bridge.
Wow.
And it'll be in the neighborhood of $300,000. So, our club doesn't have that money. The OFSC can't afford that either. So between us and the OFSC and funding from some funding body, we'll hopefully get this bridge in. It certainly won't be in 2024. We've been working on this for a couple of years already, and we're probably a couple of years out still.
I was in the original when we first started the interview. You talked about fixing bridges, and I'm on Lake Nipissing. You're on Trout.
Yeah.
I'm sorry for you. The real lake over on Nipissing. Just doing. I said, I think I want to do some shore erosion, and went to Conservation Authority. It's incredible. All the paperwork and everything you have to do, like, no problem. They're fantastic. They're actually really, really good to work with, but there's a lot of stuff. So I can only imagine one little bridge, the paperwork you have to do, the funding associated with it. It'd be a lot.
And I mean, that's all pipeline going out there. So, we've got to take some pretty heavy loads and some pretty heavy equipment on the pipeline property. And of course, that's, it's sensitive property. It's all very, very, very complicated, and complicated means expensive.
Okay, so I think you only told me 2. What's the third trip?
Gotta be south of Nipissing.
No, personally, my third would be Mattawa or beyond. Yeah, that loop, when it's perfect, man, it's perfect. The loop to leave from North Bay and go to Mattawa on either the north side or the south side of the highway and come back on the other side. It's a beautiful loop. It's a full day. Great lunch in Mattawa.
Where do you have lunch in Mattawa?
Usually at the Valois.
Okay.
Yeah.
Chocolate milkshake at the Valois. Honest to gosh.
Honest to God, anything at the Valois.
Have you been on the trail for a couple hours?
Like, just mentioned the Valois and I'm starting to drool. But typically our gang is typically at the Valois. And one of my favorite rides in general is to continue and go to Petawawa for a night. Because the trail actually from Mattawa to Petawawa is one of the best trails in Ontario. No joke. It's just
Does it go along
beautiful.
the Ottawa River?
It doesn't actually go along the river. It's a lot of pipeline, but it is so scenic, and again, roly-poly hills and rocks, and it is a really, really well done trail. And then into Petawawa, stay at the Quality Inn, which has a Kelsey's right in the parking lot there, and it's a great destination. So those 3 would probably be my faves for sure.
Yeah, well, they sound nice. Traditionally in the season, when are the sleds on the trails? In
Usually around
January?
the second week of January.
Second week of January?
Yeah, and again, back in the day, we used to have trails open pre-Christmas, but the
climate's changing.
The snow is not coming like
It's not
it used
the same?
to, right?
Like it's
It's
literally
not
not
as
the
cold.
same.
Yeah,
No?
and it's the
For sure.
crossings, for the creeks and stuff like that.
Yeah,
That's the big thing.
it's not as cold. Things aren't freezing up as early. We're not getting the snow as early. I remember I used to keep it on the calendar. November 18th, we would be riding, not groomed trails yet, but there was enough snow through Mattawa, and we'd be able to trailer out to Fish Hatchery and go for a day in mid-November. And it's mid-December now, and you still can't do that. And that's typical now. So it's for sure in my 20 or 30 years of riding, it's probably 4 to 6 weeks later start. Yeah. So we get rolling, mid-January, and we'll typically run until March break-ish. So we get a typical year is about 10 weeks.
Rookie question. Any of the stories you hear about when you, and I'm using air quotes, losing a groomer, right, or it gets sunk or something happens, is usually in a swamp. Why is it swamps don't freeze at the same rate as lakes? Or why? It seems like swamps are the one thing that doesn't freeze.
They hold heat, man.
Is that what it is?
Yeah.
It just holds heat?
They call it loon poop.
Yeah?
They say they're all full of loon poop, and
So
the
it's
loon poop
isn't it the
drives
methane?
heat, but it is.
Yeah, it's a release of gases.
Are you, but are you,
No, I'm just making it up. But,
okay. No, it's not actually the methane from loon poop, is it?
I don't know the science behind it.
That's a lot of
but
poop.
I'll tell you, some of these swamps, like, man, they won't freeze.
Yes, I've heard stories. Is like, I don't know. It's like they can't get the groomer across, or
Yeah, we have to we'll take sleds across some of these just to pack the snow to try and drive.
So they are the last thing to freeze then.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
Down the end of Trout Lake, far end of Trout Lake is skimmed over. It skimmed over probably a week or two ago. But
Yeah,
these
same with
these
Nipissing, it's all around,
swamps are
No.
not
Interesting.
even close.
And swamps often link all this together, right?
Oh my God, yeah. Like the trail system down in London and Sarnia, which are rarely open anyway, they're all crossing farmers' fields, right? Like they don't even understand the bush roads and the swamps and the bridges and the stuff that we have to deal with up here. It's complicated.
So how is it once a season a groomer will go into a swamp, or is it once every 2 years?
We've kind of got a pretty good handle on it now. Not very often does a groomer get stuck in a swamp anymore. We've just, you learn the hard way that we've got to have 2 weeks worth of sleds going across this one or that one before a groomer can. And on top of that, a lot of those swamps or ponds that we would crack through on a groomer, we don't even go across them with a groomer anymore. So, we have smaller units pulled by a snow machine with a smaller drag that will do a smaller section because we're not taking that 7-ton piece of equipment across that pond anymore.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. They always had, the groomer guys always had a drill with an 18-inch bit on it, and as long as they could still touch ice at the end of 18 inches, they'd go across the pond, right, with the groomer. But these ponds are full of loon poop or whatever, and it might be 18 inches here, but 4 feet from here, it might be 5. And so it's just, all our local clubs have run into problems at one time or another.
And don't they have a hatch in the groomers at the top or something?
Thank God, yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah, it's...
just in case?
Yeah, we had a groomer go down just off of Trout Lake between the Mr. Gas on Highway 17 and Trout Lake. I don't know, that was probably 3 or 4, maybe 5 years ago now. And I think his name was Bob, the groomer. He was an older fella, had been grooming forever, and drilled when he went across one of these ponds. And when he got to the other side of it, they figure the ice cracked on the other side. He went to Trout Lake, turned around, was coming back, and as soon as he got onto the ice, the whole thing went down. And, they said it was just like in the movies where... you think when something happens like that, you're going to have time as the machine sinks into the water. You're going to have time to have your wits about you and get out the hatch. And he said this thing hit the bottom of the pond, which was 18 feet deep.
Oh, my.
Hit the bottom of the pond. Yeah, little pond. Hit the bottom so fast, the tracks were still moving on the machine. And he had to go out the trapdoor. So
that'd be scary.
And... older fella, God love him, got to the edge of the ice, couldn't pull himself out because it's ice and it's water, and not just because of his age. Try to pull yourself out on slick ice. So luckily a guy came by on a sled a few minutes later and got him out. So because of that, I laugh about rules and codes and regulations and all that stuff, but because of the things like that, the rules have changed and that's why... there used to be a groomer go across Trout Lake back in those days. Mm-hmm. It would go from Mr. Gas, hit Trout Lake, go right to the portage, come all the way back. But across Ontario, they lost so many groomers and some lives that... the
groomer doesn't go across anymore?
Nope.
Oh.
Nope, won't do a lake, and even some of these ponds are no-nos now, yeah.
Interesting, okay. I didn't know all that changed.
Yeah.
So I got a question for you, Shawn. There, the first couple weeks of January, before the trails are really set to go, I see a lot of people out on the ice because they're fishing. That's about the only place they can go on Nipissing if it's good ice, right?
Yeah.
Or Trout Lake, or
yeah.
And I know the city opened it up so that they can come out on certain places to go get gas.
Yeah.
Is there a lot of that activity, and do you need a trail permit for doing that?
Yeah, you don't need a trail permit for doing that. You need a trail permit to ride the trails. And if you're on a trail to get to a lake to do your fishing, you don't need a trail permit for that as well. There's been some people who have tried to, sort of fudge that system, and they ride from here to New Liskeard and back with a fishing rod on their back.
Yeah.
Nah, that's not going to fly. But if you're just going to a lake to go fishing, you don't need a permit. If you're just accessing some of those businesses, you don't need a permit. But you mentioned those businesses, and North Bay has been great over the past few years to slowly expand access to some of the hotels and restaurants and gas stations and businesses. It was very closed off for a number of years. You have some podcasts with sports tourism in North Bay, and we had lots of meetings over a lot of years trying to have snowmobiling being included in that sports tourism, right? Because in the winter, aside from hockey tournaments, what's filling up our hotels and restaurants? It's snowmobiles and trucks and trailers, right? And it's a lot of money.
So, Dave, tell me who's on tap for next couple of podcasts.
Well, I want to do something on immigration. Seems to be a hot topic.
Yes.
Right? And I want to bring in Don Curry, talk about what he knows. He's an immigration consultant, but also want to do a little bit of research on the impact of the new federal rules for immigration students and how that impacts Canada's budget.
That's really interesting. And not just Canada, but all colleges, right? Mm-hmm. So what I think I understand, which I can't wait to hear, is that whole housing issue was not an issue. And it's people from outside of our community that actually stoked the fire on that. We can't say it's not an issue, but not to the degree that they were talking. But now policy has changed, and that's going to affect colleges right across the province.
They have to secure accommodations, and they're going to be capped on how many international students can come.
And they need that money, right? They need that money right now. Really interesting. Can't wait to hear what Don has to say.
So that's one topic. The next one, we have guests lined up from the Trout Lake Conservation Association, and they're going to talk about what they think of the report telling the city that there's potential for more lot development. And they dispute some of the studies. They think there should be another look at it. Most importantly, for this podcast, I hope the viewers enjoyed what we're doing here at the Echo Community Podcast Network. But we really want you to subscribe to the newsletter. It comes out Tuesdays and Thursdays. Just go to NorthBayEcho.ca. Easy to subscribe. And it comes out at 4 o'clock both those days. And we try to set up what's going on in the community. And that's what's going to make us stronger is that direct email to your inbox.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Dave, you do a great job on it. It's really well done. I love how you connect, not just with the media that we know. In your last one this last week, you were connecting with media I didn't even know were in the region, like covering some of West Nipissing and farther south, in the South River area and things. Like it's terrific that you have that ability to connect us with different media around the area and all the different stories. So great work. Great
variety,
work.
Spice of life. Do you like the Zen suggestions?
I love those. I honestly thought you were pulling them from somewhere. You are, but it's not from a book. You're pulling them from your head.
Yeah,
it's
just how
good.
I feel. Yeah.
Why can't you take more of that attitude of your Zen suggestions? You're very. I'm across the hall from you. You're very un-Zen-like around deadline.
Well, those, if you really read those things, they're a little sarcastic and cynical as well.
Yeah, that's how I really know that you made them up.
Yeah. All right, well, it was great. See you next week.